Here at Neyland Stadium, Tennessee gets the win over Kentucky 28-18. I'm Vince Ferrar alongside Josh Ward from Josh and Swain. You're here each weekday from noon until 3. Of course, John Wilkerson and I come your way with Sports Talk each weekday morning from 6 until 9. Not pretty, but Tennessee got a win. Repeat, rinse, repeat. Here we are again, just in a little bit different way, Josh.
Yeah, it was a different way, and Tennessee could have scored a lot more points and did not. Tennessee trailed again at the half. 4 straight games Tennessee has trailed at halftime. 3rd straight game that Tennessee has trailed and rallied in the second half to win. It's another game where we can talk about mistakes, a turnover, missed field goals, penalties that kept Tennessee from getting all those points. But we can also talk about Dylan Sampson once again having a big-time performance besides the fumble, which he'd obviously like to get back. But It's a record-setting night, single-season rushing touchdown record. What is new in this conversation that we've had for several weeks about Tennessee's offensive issues is that Nico, I thought, was really good. He had 292 passing yards in the game. It's his first game with 200-plus passing yards in an SEC game, and it would have easily exceeded 300 if not for drops by his teammates. So that's, to me, the biggest positive coming out of this game is how well Nico played, how confident he appeared, the decision-making, and the plays that he was able to make. He's got to get help from his teammates, and we've talked about that before. But Nico, I thought, overall had a really good game for Tennessee.
I agree. And Josh Heupel in the postgame even used the word great tonight to describe him. So he was asked about it, and he said, it was okay. But he understands that there's room for improvement for everybody, and you don't want them to get passed over or glossed over. They're still not happy with the way they performed overall, offense and defensively. You got to continue to get better, and it's something that Heupel talks about all the time. Good teams get better.
Right, and Kentucky deserves credit for the fight that was there. I wondered if that would be there from the Wildcats, and it was for all 4 quarters. They had guys go down during the game. Brown at receiver goes down, who's important in the return game. He's a really good player. Vandegrift's knocked out, which has been a theme with this season in Tennessee's defense. But Kentucky made some plays early. During the game, they had a nice drive to come back and again stayed in it. So that if that's a concern for you, I get it, because I thought Tennessee would have a much better time. But again, if a couple of balls are caught, then it is a more lopsided win for Tennessee. But for the defensive side, maybe that's good that they have some things that they're going to see. Hey, this is what a team did against us. This is what we need to clean up. They still made plays up front. Will Brooks with another pick. So the defense stepped up, made plays. They got to stop on that first possession after Kentucky moved the football down the field. So, as you said, it's not a pretty win, not by any means, but there are good things that happen on both sides of the ball to take out of it. Getting ready for Mississippi State, I will say that should be an easy win. If that's not an easy win, I don't know what to tell you with Mississippi State coming to town. But it is a win, and a lot of teams could lose this kind of game when they make the mistakes that Tennessee did. Tennessee found a way to win, and in the end, kind of run the game out of there.
Yeah. Tennessee 4 of 8 in the red zone. That is an awful, awful number. But to your point, they still found a way. And just as a reminder, there are a lot of teams that lost that are in playoff contention that didn't play well, that didn't find ways to win games. And I know people say, you can't beat Georgia if you play this way. Well, every week is different. They don't have to play the same way. The matchups are different. The motivation is different. Atmosphere is different. All of that. So I don't think you can apply to, this won't get it done against Georgia. It will and should be very different at that point. Each week is so different in college football.
Yeah, I feel comfortable saying Tennessee needs to play better in Athens than it has in any of the recent wins. I think most would agree with that because of how good Georgia is. It's going to be on the road. That's different than trying to rally at home at Neyland Stadium with the crowd behind Tennessee. The other thing is, if Tennessee does not win at Georgia in 2 weeks, well, these other wins they're not really making the case for Tennessee to the committee. And that's a concern that fans have that I think is understandable, that if Tennessee's 10-2 and the strength of schedule in the SEC is not great, and then they look at performances against Florida, went to overtime, this Kentucky game where it wasn't pretty, Oklahoma where the offense wasn't great, and then you don't have a ton of great wins, that's something that could come back to bite Tennessee for sure when it comes to playoff time. But if other teams are going to lose, teams lost today, teams are going to lose in the next few weeks. The Georgia game is huge, though. Obviously, if Tennessee wins out, Tennessee's going to the playoff playing for an SEC title, it would appear at this point. But if Tennessee's 10-2 with the loss in Athens, there's a chance Tennessee's left out of the playoff when we look back at a game like this and say, well, if Tennessee had played better, if Tennessee had looked better in a few of those wins, they would have been selected. And we don't know. We're projecting one way or the other right now.
Yeah, the style points don't automatically come into play, but they could if you don't look better in some of these games. And some teams are starting to turn things around. Ole Miss is one of those. Obviously, they have the 2 losses. But you mentioned Dylan Sampson. You saw a little bit of Peyton Lewis today.
Yeah.
He looked really good, and Dylan Sampson was impressed by him too.
He's a really good prospect, was well thought of as a recruit coming in. He's not factored in because Deshaun Bishop's been the guy. Unfortunate that he suffers the injury.
Right.
Cam Selden has played some, but Peyton Lewis, I thought he looked good on that drive. He scored the touchdown. It's his first career touchdown. He's going to be a good player for Tennessee. I don't know how much he factors in moving forward. Bishop's status would affect that.
Right.
But next year, I think we're going to talk a lot about Peyton Lewis. So him getting that kind of run will build some confidence in the coaches, I think, if they need him, whether that's next week or at some point later this season.
Yeah, a lot of individual players played well. Obviously, another Will Brooks interception, as you talked about. Miles Kitselman with a career night with the 6 receptions and 90-plus yards receiving. So a number of guys played really well in addition to Nico. But to your point, that's the most encouraging takeaway, is that now you're starting to see a little bit of progress at that position and see if they can build on it. There's no reason why they shouldn't as bad as Mississippi State's defense has been.
Right, and as Nico and Miles both described it, they kind of made a play happen based on what was called and what Kentucky was running defensively. Kitselman found the space, Nico found Kitselman, and there's a touchdown. Those are the kind of plays that Tennessee believes Nico can make, and he's going to make more of those, I'd say, moving forward. And again, the conversation, if Brazel catches the ball in the end zone, which he should have, that changes how we're viewing what this offense is and what Nico has done. He didn't catch it, so it doesn't end up in the stats. It doesn't end up in the scores. And the frustration is that it's kind of the latest thing that's happened that's kept them from being able to hit that potential. But I think it was Dylan Sampson in the postgame that said, we're this close to hitting 40 or 50 points. And he's not wrong. They are that close. They can't allow those in Athens to come back to that in 2 weeks. When that ball is available in the end zone for a free touchdown, you got to catch it. You got to come down with it. When you have a play in the middle of the field where you not only convert on a 3rd down, but you're taking it to the house for a touchdown, you got to catch that ball. You got to make that play. In those kinds of games, Tennessee's going to have to do that. They can. They just have to connect.
Yeah. All right. So Tennessee gets the win over Kentucky, 28-18, to move to 7-1 and set up 2 weeks away from Georgia. Next week, right back here. It's a 7 p.m. ESPN game against Mississippi State. The day games are coming back at some point. We've had a ton of these night games.
After this 7:45 kick and all the stoppages, 7 o'clock sounds early. So I'll take it.
Yeah. So it's late, so we're going to get out of here. Josh, great job. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So check out Josh and Swain, noon to 3 on the Sports Animal. John Wilkerson and myself from 6 to 9 a.m. And then don't forget Jimmy and Judge Tim Irwin on Sunday Sports Sound Off as well. Appreciate you guys. We will talk to you all next week here on 99.1, the Sports Animal. See ya.